precious commodity in our life is time. So having wasted no time in your daily schedule routines and having a purposeful life and accomplishing all aspects of your life in terms of physical fitness, mental fitness, career, spirituality, family, community, in all dimensions of one's life, if you have a very balanced day and in achieving your goal at the end of the day, one step towards your goal, that I find is a very accomplished day. We had one of the first Peace Corps volunteers come to Mongolia and teach English for children at the State Palace. And I signed up for an English course for the first time in my life, and the teacher there, named Lisa Bradford, became my good friend, and I asked her if I can go abroad to study as an exchange student. And she helped me find an exchange student program and helped me go to the US when I was 14. My mother trusted our decision, and at the time had just formed this company, Montpelimet, and had bought our office furniture. But I needed the money to pay for that exchange student program. She turned around and sold her newly bought furniture to pay for my ticket and expense to go overseas. So that was a big risk to take as a 14-year-old. Yeah. And having your mother's trust and just going alone to a foreign country. So I stayed with Lisa Bradford's family as an exchange student, and today they're still my mom and dad, and we are very close. So I'm a believer in delegation and rather than control my staff and managerial level people, whether they will have made mistakes and learn from it. It's still on-the-job training, with a lot of empowerment and ownership. So a lot of companies are today saying they're not hiring Harvard and MIT, Ivy League graduates. They're really focusing on skill set. So I think that's very true, and especially in Mongolia, where we have a very educated young population with a world view, and we have a lot of ambition as well among the young people who have not gained much experience yet. So I think it's very important that these fresh graduates learn practically what must be done in job places, especially in terms of getting along with people, being a team player. Emotional intelligence is a very important factor in choosing someone that I must hire. We're focusing more and more so on a specific skill set, and most importantly, what type of person, with the value system that's aligned with the organization, whether they believe in the purpose, mission, value of the company, and loyalty is also very important. So this company started in 1992 by my mother, who was a geological engineer. And at the time, she had formed the company with only a handful of fellow geologists. And so those people are still with us today. And, we're second generation now. And we have people here who has worked for almost 30 years, very loyal, have contributed almost their lifetime towards the success of this company. And it's all because of the culture of this company that my mother first created. And seldom we see, mother-daughter business. It's mostly, we see in the male-dominated society, especially in mining and heavy industries. You don't see many of female-run businesses, successfully run businesses in these kind of fields. So we make sure that, every week we have, celebrations, or if somebody's going through a tough time, we pay attention, we help one another out. And our workplace atmosphere is very much focused around health and people's physical fitness, as well as constant learning. So here we have in the headquarter office, as well as in our remote locations where our plants are, fitness, gyms, and we have libraries, as well as kids gymnastics, and where single mothers and fathers can leave their children while they have to go work out. So also going back to that question of what do you look for in hiring people, we also make sure we hire people that know how to take care of themselves, physically, mentally, and emotionally. My life, I focused in 3 phases. First, it was my educational phase. Then it was my career phase. I think what will come next is my impact phase. And in this impact phase, I tend to focus on that philosophy of thought, why are we here? What's our mission in life, purpose in life? What can we add in terms of value to our families, to our communities, to our country? And it doesn't always have to be political. It could be as simple as being a mentor to someone, or raising your family with the best education they can get. So in terms of what's happening in business communities around the world, the companies you've never heard 5 years ago are leading today's global business communities. In terms of innovation, technological advancements, you've never imagined these companies would outlast some of these Fortune 500 companies. So what's happening in terms of technological space in today's day and age is becoming very fascinating. And leaders who are leading these companies with a visionary focus on very much what our future would look like in terms of data, in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of technological evolution. These companies are very, very inspirational to me. Watching this development from a developing country where we're still struggling with the very basic infrastructure in terms of legal framework, in terms of policy, and I feel like we're living in 2 different sort of space and time, where in a developed world we're seeing leapfrog advancements. So much discontent with democracy, especially today. The very countries that have promoted globalization all these years are again questioning and blaming, trade, intertrade between countries. Current account deficits are enormous with some parts of the world, whereas in other parts of the world, they're gaining from the situation. Democracy, and especially capitalism, this notion of whether it's fair, earned, is becoming very much questionable. We have a lot of resentful populism today, which we will not escape from. We have to live with people that are having a lot of class barriers. Class mobility is becoming very, very scarce. In my view, meritocracy, or in terms of a political system, a political system in which political powers are vested in individuals on the basis of talent, effort, and achievement, is the best system, rather than in social class or wealth. So it'll be interesting how many of these countries that found democracy as their best political regime will go forward with a lot of resentful populism, inequality today, ever so. In my view, I think it'll be a very long time before we see meritocracy taking place in full effect, but I think there are a lot of countries where they're encouraging, talented, educated individuals to come up, especially from a gender perspective, right? It's becoming very, very relevant for us women to be decision makers for our society. We're lacking some very basic infrastructure in terms of our economy. So rule of law, number 1, right? So we have to have a very good judicial system. We have to have a very cohesive and coherent, clear laws. We have today a business community that's struggling very much to translate different laws to one another, and then as a result having to have court battles with the government, and sustainability. Secondly, right? Once you have a very clear set of law, to keep it and not to keep changing it. Stability is becoming very, very important, critical for our economy. We have elections, we have, very quick turnaround in terms of decision makers. So it's very hard for this country to have a long-term policy. We don't even have a medium-term policy in different sectors. So it's hard for a business community to focus on one project and expect something to change the next day. To do the research very well, of course it's an emerging market with its own set of risks, political, economic, geopolitical even. So we have to pay attention to what has worked well in the country, previous cases, and what are some difficult decisions that companies have to make in the past because of these risks. So I've seen a lot of startups fail before they're able to generate revenues. But I've also seen startups fail while they're growing because of their outlook. So, and also to scale, from a very first idea to forming a company and then scaling it to a market-sized business. And for that, I think the best advice is to have a professional management, as much as possible with the discipline, and to have planning and budgeting, reporting, and also having a culture and rituals that that small company can first start out with, and sticking to that with very good discipline. I find it very helpful. Too many times I find entrepreneurial spirits go almost artistic and then not very much focus on the discipline of day-to-day business, and then they fail. Hobbies, I also love growing up, I played Yeochen, Mongolian traditional instrument. I have an ear for music, so I'd like to play piano and different types of instruments. I like to sing, dance, I've also, learned to work out with different sports. I do kickboxing. I do also yoga, free lift training. So, I spend a good part of my day in the gym. I also like to focus internally on my mental fitness. So I do meditation, just having a very balanced life, and spending my mother. So she's my inspirational sort of champion growing up. As a single mother, she was perseverant, and in accomplishing her goal in life. So I very much look up to how she has so much energy in dealing with so many challenges in life, and raising my sister and I alone, as well as forming a company. And today she's still my mentor, and I look very much up to her. Crazy, but beautiful, 4 kids. Proud to be their mom. But I usually recommend, to our readers, coming especially to Mongolia, Jack Weatherford's books on Genghis Khan and Mongolian queens. Mm-hmm. And because in history we lack a lot of female leaders, and most often we've seen history painted by what men have been told, and written history this way. But from how women contributed, especially to Mongolian history during 12th and 13th century, and how they persevered during the most difficult times. I've also brought this book this time, How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen. And this is a very good guidebook for one's future. It summarizes and helps one understand the critical decisions that can bring happiness and success in life. So it's a good book to read.